Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I'm a multimedia artist. In this video, we will be working with our 24 Days of Gouache Advent Calendar, where we challenge ourselves to paint with one color a day plus one bonus ink. This one is a little bit of a longer one because we're going through the journey of painting days 15 through the 24. And I would suggest for you to stay tuned till the end just because I have some opinions and some experience about this medium and this particular brand. So go ahead and grab your cup of coffee and let's get painting. Here we start on day 15 and we get a very pastel purple. And this being so light, I chose to use the black mixed media paper by Strathmore, and since it's a bigger sheet, I cut it in half. Here I'm using my Kohl Erase pencil in white. I originally wanted to paint a snowman in this pastel purple. However, once I started putting pencil on paper, I decided to carry on the siblings. Remember the siblings from the gingerbread card that I painted before? Well, that's what I carried on this one. But these are three siblings in snowman form with three very different personalities, all playing in the snow. Here I'm using a little bit of masking fluid. Masking fluid is usually used mostly on watercolor paintings. I actually bought it for that, but haven't really used it much on my watercolor paintings. So essentially what it does, it helps you preserve the whiteness of the paper, or in this case, the dark values of the paper. That's what I wanted it to do. So you apply a thin layer on the areas that you would like to preserve, then you let them dry. Then you can continue with your painting. You apply the paint, and once the paint dries, in this case it dries super quick because it's gouache, you just peel it off the way you would peel off a sticker or maybe even your washi tape. Here comes the most satisfying part of this masking fluid, removing it just as you will with a sticker. Next, we go to day 16 and we get this orange color. I chose my black mixed media paper for this color since it's very similar to the color I got when I painted the butter cookies, if you go back to my other videos. This one will give me, or intentionally I was hoping it would give me more of a range in values given that the paper is black, and sure enough it did. I struggled much less with this one than I did with the butter cookies. I used that awesome technique of dry brushing to give it some texture to the paper and make it look more like a gingerbread. And then I went on with my pen white ink to give it all that frosting little details. I know it's not perfect, but the whole point was to have fun with this one. on day 17 and I get this beautiful, beautiful blue, another one of my favorites. So I chose my white hot press watercolor paper for this and I cut it in half. So one thing that I've noticed so far with these gouache paints is that the blues and the greens really give me that flexibility of using them as if they were watercolors as well. So it's more like I'm playing with a mixed media, I'm playing with watercolors and acrylics at the same time, all within the same paint. So it's really fun to use these colors versus others that are a little more granular and less diluting, I would say. Not so much like a watercolor. So I think the Indian yellows, those are very granular, and versus the blues that are so smooth and they give me that flexibility of using them as if they were watercolors. Here I'm adding my golden acrylic ink just to give it a little bit of sparkle. And we're on day 18 and we get this beautiful magenta. Given that this color is so vibrant and so loud, I'm using my white hot press watercolor paper, and as usually, I'm cutting it in half. So I decided to keep this one a lot simpler just because the color is so vibrant and so over the top. So I just went for the old-fashioned and timeless glass ornament. Here we go to day 19 and we get this beautiful yellow oxide. For this one I decided to use my black mixed media Strathmore paper, and because it's so big I will be cutting this in 4. This paint, as many other earthy tones in this palette, is very granular, so my approach to this is adding layers and layers and layers. So I start with a very light one, and then once I'm happy with all the layers and the color pigmentation, then I do the lifting technique, which means just adding water in the areas that I want to lift. And then with my clean and dry brush, I just start lifting the paint off of those areas where I want to reveal the paper. Here I come in with my white ink to give those highlights to these very shiny jingle bells. Do you remember yesterday's ornament? Well, since I had my white ink out, I decided to add a little bit of sparkle to my ornament to maybe give it a little bit more light. So here's the process of me adding just a little bit of sparkle, or shine I should say, to my glass ornament. For day 20, we get this beautiful permanent green, and I'm using my white hot press watercolor paper cut in half. And guess what, guys? I can't believe I haven't painted a mistletoe. For all those hopeless romantics out there, including myself, here goes this mistletoe, and I hope you really enjoy the process. For day 21, we got this beautiful pale lemon yellow. So I'll be using my black mixed media Strathmore paper, and I'll be cutting this in 4. I decided to go with the sketch first, and I'm sketching some string lights. More like the classic holiday string lights that you would see back in the day and are still making a comeback now. So this paint, I have to say, was very challenging to work with. I noticed so far that yellow tones in this Himi Miya gouache are very sticky. They almost have like a tacky consistency to them. So as you're layering on top of each other, it just lifts the paint. It kind of tends to stick to itself, and it kind of like picks up again with the brush. So it is a challenge in itself, but it's a beautiful vibrant color, I have to say. Here I'm using my golden acrylic ink just to give that shimmery look and to give the effect of the lights being blurry in the background. Now we're on day 22, and we get this beautiful cerulean blue. Here I'm using my hot press watercolor paper, and I'll be cutting this in half. By now, guys, I already know that this video will most likely come out well after Christmas, and that's okay. The reason why, I have some family come over and I'm super excited about it, and I've been enjoying their company, and we've been spending time during these holidays together. So I know for a fact, and I made peace with this, that these videos would come out well after Christmas, and I hope that if you're watching this later on, or maybe if you're watching this in other years, I hope that you get some value out of these videos. Here we have day 23, and we got this beautiful fiery red. So I will be using my black mixed media paper, and as per usual, I would be cutting this in 4. So for this paint, I have to say this was a bit streaky. I'm not sure if it's again because of the same kind of blend that the yellows have and the earthy tones. I'm not sure, but it was a little bit streaky, but I managed to work with that. So now I'm using my white ink and I'm using it kind of as if it was watercolor. So I'm diluting some areas to give it more value, and some others I'm keeping it right out of the bottle. And now we're on the last one, guys. Day 24 of our 24 days of gouache. We get this phthalo green, I would say. It's got kind of like a bluish tint to it. So I will be using my hot press watercolor paper, and I'll be using half of the sheet. Here I'm sketching a front door decorated for Christmas. And I know the sketch looks a little wonky. Well, actually the whole thing will look a little wonky, but that's okay. I'm trying not to use any rulers or stencils or anything of that sort, just to give myself the freedom to freehand and have fun with this project. I mean, the whole purpose of me doing this is just so I can get more acquainted with gouache. Now I'm using my gold acrylic ink to give the effect of those Christmas lights being on the garland and on the wreath, and to give a little bit of frosting or shimmer to the Christmas trees. There you go, guys. I can't believe we're at the end of our 24 days of gouache advent calendar. I hope you really enjoyed watching this journey and that you painted along with me. I got to learn a lot about this medium. I would possibly, or most definitely, be using this medium in the future. I would probably look to try a different kind of brand, because I've learned and I've heard and that they behave a little bit different. So if you would like to know a little bit more about it, just let me know in the comments. I would definitely try my best to try something different and let you know how that works out. I really hope you had a beautiful Christmas, a wonderful Christmas, and if I don't get to see you before the beginning of next year, I hope you have a very happy New Year's as well, and that the new year treats you kindly and you share and receive lots of love and health. So I hope to see you in my next one, and happy holidays.